Amanda is my brother's girlfriend. She was looking for her first apartment and moving out from her parents' house. Her and my brother didn't want to move in together since they had only dated for a few months. She opted instead to search for a roommate online. Browsing Craigslist, she found an ad titled something like "Roommate Wanted, Females Only." This sort of thing was common since the area she was looking in was mostly young professionals. The listing was for a room in a house for about $225 a month, which was quite cheap compared to most of the places listed. The occupant listed herself as a 23-year-old college student that wasn't comfortable living with any males. The other roommate would have their own room and attached bathroom. So far, Amanda was into this place. However, the listing had only one single photo from outside the property. Amanda sent an email wanting to meet the occupant and tour the house. Within 30 minutes, she received an email back with all the details and time to stop by. The girl worked late hours and wanted Amanda to stop by at 8 p.m. When Amanda arrives, there is a handwritten note on the front door saying, "Door broken, use back door." Walking around the house, it looks nice but slightly unkempt, tall grass, weeds, dusty windows, etc. Still no alarms for Amanda though. When she knocks on the back door and an older man opens up the door, at first Amanda thinks she has the wrong house, but the man reassures her and says that the occupant was out and he was the landlord. The occupant asked him to meet Amanda since she was working late. He seemed pleasant and offered to show her around. Alarms start going off, but aren't at red alert yet. First, the guy was clearly in his 40s, unshaven, and looked like he'd lived in his car. Also, the only kitchen light was on, and as they walked around the house, Amanda noticed one huge red flag. No furniture, nothing. The landlord was polite about answering questions, but seemed irritable to keeping lights on for too long, rushing her around and only letting her look at rooms for a few moments. There was a single room that the landlord wouldn't open, telling her that it was the occupant's room and he didn't want to invade her privacy. As they walk down the hallway into the living room, she notices the front door has a plank note across it. Broken for sure. Amanda's creepometer is starting to ding, so she decides to wrap up the walkthrough and leave, but trying to be polite. As she's giving the guy her thanks for the showing bit, he perks up and states he forgot to show her the basement. It's recently furnished and would be a great rec room, and she should take a look down there. At the time, Amanda and the landlord are standing in the small hallway between the front living room and the back kitchen. In this hallway was the basement door. When he opens the door, it opens an outward, which creates something of a barrier between Amanda and the back door. The basement is pitch black. He smiles, motions down the stairs, and says, "Ladies first." What happens next is nothing more than a stroke of luck. Amanda gets a text just as some random person parks in front of the house. Thinking on her feet, she pretends it's a phone call and answers the phone. "Hey, yeah, are you here? I'll come out from around back and let you in. It's great, you have to see it." With a motion of confidence, she excuses herself around the landlord and walks out the back door. She says the guy just looked at her like he was confused. Once outside, she sprinted to her car and sped like hell out of there. When Amanda got home, she told her mother and my brother everything. Cops were called, they took her statement and went to investigate. The Craigslist post has been removed. The house had been foreclosed on over 6 months earlier and the property had been abandoned. When the police investigated, they found that the closed room the landlord didn't want her to look in was where the man had been staying. There was a pile of old dirty blankets, rotten food, and an empty gallon jugs everywhere. More creepy was he had plastered ripped up pages from porno mags all over the walls in the room. The really scary part was the basement. The man had tied a thin piece of fishing twine at about shin level across the stairs about halfway down. The basement was empty except for another pile of old blankets, a broom handle wrapped in leather belts, and a small box with a few rolls of assorted tape, duct, electric, etc. Amanda ended up not moving in. So I recently bought a used computer. It was a present to myself for making decent grades this semester. The guy was a little shady, but what do you expect from Craigslist? I was browsing the files, seeing how much info the guy left on it. I find it amusing to know that a lot of people wouldn't wipe their HDD. I would never use this information and normally just delete it. This time was different. I found a Word document labeled diary.docx. I grew with excitement and jumped into this multiple page ordeal. I'm a full-grown man, but I love gossip. I'm kinda weird. It was all ordinary for the first few pages. The author explains her situation and his profession, which is linguist. Then it gets weird. The guy starts sounding deranged and scared. Here are a few excerpts from one of the pages. Keep in mind that they aren't labeled with dates, but they all seem to happen in order. I broke them up so every break is a new occurrence. Day 1. Weird things have been happening lately. I'll be walking alone, and the voices will start, constantly chattering, incomprehensible banter that's just out of reach to hear. I listen in at the talking. It's some dialect I've never heard before. I don't know if it's directed at me. Regardless of my profession, I can't seem to understand what they're trying to tell me. I think it's a warning. Day 2. I visited a clinic today to talk to a doctor about the occurrences. I doubt it will help, but I'm at my wit's end. I need this to stop. The doctor prescribed me a sleep aid. I suppose I have to take it if I want results. Day 3. I awoke this morning to my normal routine. I decided that this morning I needed a coffee, although I didn't feel a bit tired. When the coffee brewed, I jumped in the shower to pass the time. I feel dirty, constantly. It's like oil that won't wash away. As I left the bathroom, I felt something was different. The feeling was disturbing. I do not think anyone entered the apartment, but something is different. I remembered something from my dream last night. Curiously enough, my old colleague from my last job was here with me. We discussed Middle Eastern languages and dialects over coffee. It felt so real. I need to reflect. Day 4. Someone's trying to get in touch with me. I received an envelope today with no return address, no stamp, and my name written in ink on the face. Hand-delivered to the mailbox in the lobby of my apartment building. It contained a small blank parchment. My name looks to have been written in a haste. Day 5. I saw the colleague from my dream today while walking to the corner bistro. He didn't recognize me. He didn't even turn when I called to him. I followed him for a short distance, but he disappeared in a crowded intersection. Bastard. I never liked him anyway. I'm at the bistro now. It's raining hard now. I should go home. I walked to my apartment and climbed the stairs. I had my head down listening to music, not really paying attention. When I looked up, some guy was hanging around my door. I had a rush of fear run down my spine. He was just standing there looking at the door. I couldn't see his face, although you could tell he was pale. He was wearing a really nice suit. The strangest thing was that he was dry. I asked him what he was doing, but he burst into a full-on sprint down the hallway to the opposing stairwell. I chased after him, but when I opened the large metal door and looked down the looping stairwell, no one was there. How could someone run down 4 flights of stairs that fast? I walked back to the door, and it looks like when I left, no tamper marks. It's fucking weird. Day 6. Another letter. Someone's trying to fuck with me. I don't want to open this one. It's drenched and the ink is running. End. At this point, I'm thinking about getting rid of the computer. It doesn't scare me, although I have to say I'm a little freaked out, but I don't want to delve into anything too personal. I don't think the guy I bought the computer from knew about the file. He was shady, but didn't look scared. This happened last year around this season while I was broke and struggling to make ends meet. I just moved out and didn't want to resort to going back to my parents. Anyways, I was so desperate I was looking on Craigslist for caregiver/housekeeping type jobs, just to make quick cash while I looked for a full-time position. After responding to several, I got a bite back from a man who had advertised as a disabled man who needed help with his morning and evening routines since he had a bad back. As a past caregiver, I thought nothing of his request to help with bathing and dressing since I knew it could be difficult for some. After chatting on the phone and coming to the conclusion he was nice and normal, I proceeded to head over to his townhouse late one night to help him with his nighttime routine. He lived a bit out of the way from home, but I was desperate and didn't mind. He even said I could spend the night since he'd need me in the morning anyway. Once I got there, he was a decent-looking man in his late 30s or early 40s with a cane. He paid me $200 up front for the expected nighttime and morning routine the next day. He explained he was ex-military and had back surgery recently. Things started to get weird once he offered me some wine and commented on how cute he thought I was. I should have seen that as a big red flag, but again, I was super poor and didn't want to cheat him, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt. He then led me to his bedroom where he got undressed for his evening shower. I was horrified since I saw he already had a giant erection and wanted me to lather him up. He asked if I wanted to take my clothes off and I declined. He responded respectfully. However, he did touch my butt when I bent over to pick something up for him. I should have ran right out of there then, but I was waiting for the right moment. After quickly giving him the most unsexy shower in the most platonic way I could, he got out and said he was heading to bed but didn't want to wear any clothes. The guest room where I was to stay was right next to his, and though I was tired, I was still pretty on edge. My gut instinct was telling me to get the hell out of there. The issue was that we were on a three-story townhouse, and we were on the top floor. And he had installed baby gates on each floor so his cat wouldn't run away. Also, he had turned off all the lights on the lower floors, so it was pitch black. In order for me to get out, I'd have to pass his room. I quietly arranged my stuff in my purse while I heard his TV blaring, and to my horror, I saw him walk swiftly to his bathroom without his cane. I realized he was not as disabled as he told me, since he had previously put on an act as if he couldn't walk without it. He also still had his heart on and was holding a giant bottle of lotion with him. As quickly and quietly as I could, I fled and ran like hell out of the room while he was in the bathroom and jumped like an Olympic sprinter over the cat gates down the dark stairs. As I threw the front door open to run my car, I heard his house alarm go off. I got into my car as fast as lightning, heart beating like crazy. I immediately got phone calls from his number, and every car that tailed me had me terrified until I got out of there. Finally, after a 2-hour drive, I was back to my place and grateful I was out of there. Who knows what could have happened if I stayed overnight, but I didn't want to stay to find out.